This is infinite recursion. It is when you have a function that calls itself over and over. Basically, it's a function that is looping into itself, and in this case it's looping itself into the void forever. So I'm using a project that I did for last video where I load in dynamically a bunch of files, but if we call this recursive function now, you'll see what happens. We're going to get the most classic error in development: Stack Overflow. Check for infinite recursion in your script, because yes, this doesn't end. It needs to end. So you might ask yourself, why is recursion useful? How is it useful? You'll be surprised to know that recursion is probably one of the most powerful tools in game development, or just in coding in general. It can replace a bunch of existing things, but the example I'll be using it for is a dynamic loading system, because I think that's the clearest example and probably the most common use case. It's very useful. And at the end, I'll also show a bit of a complex example that I'm using into the card game that I'm building to make cards rearrange recursively and dynamically. So there's a lot of very cool applications if you understand how it works. So when is this useful? When do you ever want to have a function, if I can write properly, that loops into itself? When is this good? Well, this is not good, but you need a statement that breaks out of it. So if some condition is true, it will loop into itself. If not, it will just skip. And there needs to be a breakpoint. There needs to be a way for this to end. So you can hard code it, or there can just be natural breakpoints, and that's where I'm using the dynamic loading system, because in the last video I made 4 resources. They're plants that I'm loading into the game. They were all bundled nicely into this folder. But as you can see, they have been scattered. One of them is in my main root folder. Here I have a folder 1 with a folder 2, folder 3, and there is my plant resource all the way nested. Then in here, you have the resource folder with another one, the original folder, and in there in the script folder, another one. So how do we load all of these with a single function call? Recursion. So now you will see the use case for it. And of course, we don't want to be loading anything else. We just want to be loading plants. So how do we get started? We basically take what we already had, our existing structure, and I'm just going to put it into a separate function, which I call find resource. And there we go. And if we go in the ready call and we do find resource, it's basically going to do what it did before, right? But to make this dynamic, we need to pass in something in the function, because otherwise, how do we keep looking into different folders? So we need to put in a folder path. I'll define a folder path, which is going to be a string. And so we want to be putting in the plants path, right? So now we're going to look in this folder, still the same function as before, but we're going to start at the root now. We're going to start all the way on top, and we're going to look into this folder path. Now, what happens next? Well, we need to be looking if there is folders in this folder, right? So right now, I'm going to do a short recap of what this code block does. We're opening the folder that we are given, which is not plants path anymore. It's going to be the folder path that we pass into the function here. Okay, we look in our folder. Then it's going to get all the files, loop over the files, get the full path, load that file, and add it into our plants array. Okay, but we don't want to be looping over files yet. We first need to see if there's more folders that we can then go into and perform the same action. So we have to do variable subfolders, which is gonna be dir.get directories. So instead of get files, which is just the files at the location, we're getting all the folders in that location. And then in there, we're gonna just loop over them. So for subfolder in subfolders, so for each subfolder, which in this case, get directories also returns a packed string array. Just for clarity's sake, I'm gonna statically type it here. Which is again just an array that holds a bunch of strings, in this case paths, and then it knows in engine as well that every subfolder is a string here in the subfolders. So now if we do subfolder, you can see you can have all sorts of string manipulation. I'm just going to quickly do this for demonstration purposes. I'll do a print print subfolders and run this. And return out of it. It's always good practice again if you're learning something for the first time to do print calls in between so you see what's happening. So we open our folder, we get our subfolders, which right now is .godot. This does not show up in the file system, but it shows folder 1 and resources as well. That's these two folders. We now want to go a level deeper, And you can also see that the paths are not the full paths, it is just the folder name. So we need to still get the full path. So I'll go back to where I was, which is for the subfolder and subfolders. This is going to be the string, so folder 1, for example. We need to get the full folder path, which is the folder path that we started with, our initial root dot path join, and then subfolder. That's it. Now we get a full folder path, and then we're just gonna start the recursion. We're gonna do find resource into the full folder path. So now in folder 1, it's gonna run again. It's gonna check if there's folders in it. In this case, yes, there's folder 2. Gonna run again. Folder 3, yes. Is there any other folders in there? No. So that's where this stops. This doesn't run because there's no more folders. And this is how recursion is useful. There is a natural break. This does not call itself again after it hit the final folder. So because of folder structures, you cannot have infinite folders into each other. There is going to be a breaking point. That's when recursion is good, when there is just going to be a stopping point for it, when you don't need it anymore. So then we just execute the second part, which is going to be loading the files in. We have to make a few small changes here. So the plant files is going to be all the files that we get in the directory. The issue is that we can also find different files now, like scenes and scripts. So I'm just going to call this the files as dir.get files, and now we need to filter through them. So for file path in files, which again, just like before, we're going to loop over all the paths that we find here. We need to check if they are a resource first of all. I also need to change some small things here. The plants path is going to be a folder path again that we pass in here. Path join will be the file path. So I want to show real quick again what's happening. So I'm going to print all the file paths that it finds, and we're going to do a simple continue here. So the last part here does not run. And if I check this, it is going to just print out all the paths that it finds, which is a lot. There's a lot of cached files, a lot of hidden files that you don't see in here. But what you will also see is that it does eventually find our resources, but also our plant.gd, our UID, our scenes, node.scene. So we only want to be looking at these .resource files, basically. So we basically need to gate them, which is what we do with if the file path dot extension, so what it ends with, is equal to tres, then it is going to be a resource, which means if it is not a resource, we want to just continue and skip this one in the loop. And hopefully now if I do print the file path, we are going to see a bunch of resources that are found. So we now find all our 4 resources within all of these folders, no matter where they are, and everything else gets skipped. That is good. Now get extension is very useful. You can also do file path.ends with, and then you can check if it has .tres. There's multiple ways that you can approach this, but this is just the cleanest I find. And now we load it. So we also want to check if it is actually a plant, right? Because there might be other resources that are not plants. So we're going to load plant resource. Plant is load. I'm going to remove the static typing now. And I'm just going to call this found resource. So if our found resource, we're going to load the path, and then we just check if it is a plant. If not found resource is a plant, we also continue. Otherwise, we're going to append the found resource as a plant. You don't have to necessarily cast it as something, but I prefer doing this so that way the game knows it is a plant that's being added to the plant array. So now, quickly, what is going to happen if we look at this structure? It's a bit bigger, but it is calling itself over and over until it ends the loop. It looks at the folder path, which is going to be the root. Then it's going to find all of the subfolders, and for each subfolder, it is going to just create the full path and call the function again. So it keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper until there's no more folder. And then it just keeps executing, okay? We went to all of the folders. Now we just check all the files in the folder. And this is basically the same as before, but we have to do a little bit more safety measures and check if it is actually a resource that we're getting and if it is a plant, because I only want the plant resources, which is why class names are important. Our plant resource is defined as a plant. Always give your resources a class name. It is very useful and kind of necessary. And that is recursion. It's a little bit more work, but it is super flexible. I can now put these anywhere in a project and it will always find them. Of course, a little bit more heavy on the machine if you have like a very big structure, a lot of files to load. This will take up a little bit more memory and a little bit more time, but it should be negligible in this case, because also it keeps loading all of the resources, and then you could filter out, hey, if it's a plant or if it's something else, and then put them all in their separate little arrays. So this way you can basically find all your resources and organize them. So now I'm going to show you the more advanced example. So here's what is happening. I have some cards here and I have spots to place them, and as you can see, it snaps nicely into place. But if you hover over a card, it needs to jump to the side to make room for the other card. That makes sense. But what if I want to put a card here? It basically needs to shuffle all of them to the right, which is exactly what it does. And it always dynamically sorts them and moves them into their proper positions, which needs recursion, because if I put a card here, I need to check, hey, is there space on the right? No. Okay, but does this card have space on the right? No. Does this card have space on the right? Yes. Okay, you should move then. And then all of you guys should also move, so that way this card fits here. That is basically what is happening, and that uses recursion. So let's look at the code. This is going to be a bit more advanced, so stay with me. Basically what happens is when you play a card on a panel, it's going to check, hey, can it be played there? Yes or no? And so it calls this function. If this returns yes, it can play there. If no, you cannot play the card. So first of all, if the card panel, which is basically what it's made out of, it's 4 different card panels that are empty that you can put a card in. So if the panel that you want to put a card in it doesn't have a played card, then return true. You can play a card there. Then it checks, hey, can that card maybe move to the left? If this is true, then it also returns true. You can move to the left. If you can move to the right, in case it cannot move to the left, and then it also returns true. If it cannot move to the left and not move to the right, at the end, if all checks fail, it just returns false. There's no way to play it. Everything is full. These are recursive functions because cards that are on the left also need to check if they can move to the left all the way until the end of the array. So that is the loop that breaks out of it. It's not an infinite loop. It stops as soon as there's no more space for the cards to move. So here is what one of them looks like. Can the card move to the left? So you give it the panel that you want to play the card in. So here's first some variables that declare an empty playing card panel and finds where you're playing your card. What is the position of it? If the position is 0, so if you're all the way in front, it's just going to return false. Your card cannot move to the left. So here with card moving to the right, it is basically the opposite. So you cannot move to the left if there is no space on the left. If there is, okay, we keep going. We get the panel that is on the left of where you want to play, and we get the playing card. If there is no playing card, then your card can move to the left and you return true. So we're going to move the card where you want to play to the left because there's space, and we're going to return, hey, you can play your card. If that fails, if there is already a card on the left, then it's going to recursively call, hey, can that card on the left move to the left? And we're back here. And it's going to run again through there. Hey, is the left panel free? No. Okay, return false. Is there a card played in a panel? No. Okay, then you can move to the left and it's true. Otherwise, check again to the panel of the left there if they can play. So that is basically how this recursive function works. I hope I explained it well. It's a bit harder than the first example, but it just shows how you can build these systems that completely interact with each other. It takes a little bit to get used to this system if you've never done recursive functions, but they're very powerful and they make for some really cool systems. So hope you enjoy.